Why do women become more frustrated with their husbands as the years go by? There's a truth that many long-term relationships face. What once felt like a strong and deep bond can slowly turn into daily irritations, silent resentments, or even outright hostility. But why does this happen? Why do so many women, after years of marriage, suddenly feel disconnected, exhausted, or even resentful toward the person they chose to spend their life with? In this video, we'll dive deep into the evolution of emotional needs and the unspoken frustrations that build up over years. There are certain patterns that cause marriages to become strained over time. Many of these changes happen so slowly that neither party realizes what's happening until one day, the warmth is gone, replaced by resentment, frustration, or regret. But the truth is, understanding these patterns can help you approach things with a clearer perspective, whether it's your own marriage or someone else's. By recognizing these signs, there is still a chance to change things, reconnect, and make your relationship fulfilling again. Stay with me until the end because the reasons behind this shift might surprise you. These are not just temporary complaints or irritations, there are deeper psychological and emotional factors at play. These factors shape relationships over the years without people even realizing it. By the end of this video, you may begin to see your own relationship in an entirely new light. Number 1. Years of emotional labor without appreciation. One of the biggest reasons women become frustrated with their husbands as they age is emotional labor. Years of caring for the relationship, managing the household, and supporting the family often go unnoticed and unappreciated. Emotional labor goes beyond physical tasks like cooking meals or cleaning the house. It involves the unseen mental and emotional efforts that hold a marriage together, remembering birthdays, managing family schedules, smoothing over conflicts, and always ensuring that others' needs are met. These responsibilities often fall on women, and after decades of carrying this load, exhaustion sets in. Many men assume that by providing financially, they've done their part in the marriage. But marriage is about much more than financial support. It requires effort, emotional presence, and ensuring that a woman feels valued for everything she does. When a woman handles everything, raising the children, managing the home, fulfilling social obligations, her husband never acknowledges or appreciates those efforts. The distance between them silently grows. Take Karen, a 72-year-old retired teacher, for example. For years, she balanced raising 3 children, working full-time, and making sure her husband's life ran smoothly. She planned every holiday meal, chose gifts for every birthday, remembered doctor's appointments, maintained friendships, and ensured everything ran smoothly and comfortably. But looking back, she realized that no one had ever done the same for her. Her husband never once asked if she needed help, nor did he thank her for what she did. Years later, she didn't feel love anymore, she just felt exhausted. What makes emotional labor so frustrating is that it's invisible. A woman can spend her entire marriage ensuring everything runs smoothly, and if her husband never notices that effort, he will never understand why she has grown distant or resentful. It's not that she suddenly changed, it's that she reached her limit. Also, the issue of how appreciation changes over time is critical. In the early years of marriage, small gestures like a thank you, compliments, or a simple good job might have been enough. But after years of marriage, if a husband assumes his wife will handle everything without effort on his part, it makes her feel more like a caretaker than a partner. As she feels this way more and more, love starts to fade, replaced by frustration and emotional exhaustion. The truth is, women don't wake up one day and decide to hate their husbands. Resentment is the result of small, invisible moments that build up over years. If a woman feels that her emotional contributions have gone unnoticed, it's completely natural for her to pull away. If this sounds familiar to you, or if you've ever felt unappreciated in your relationship, know that you are not alone. This is something many women experience, and often they don't realize it until years have passed. Number 2. Feeling like a roommate instead of a wife. As the years go by, many women begin to feel like they are living with a roommate rather than their husband. In the early years of marriage, emotional bonds are exciting, and there's a deep, passionate connection. However, over time, if both partners stop putting effort into the relationship, romance fades, and what's left is 2 people simply coexisting under the same roof. For many women, this change doesn't happen overnight, but it starts slowly. At first, it might just be a few nights of disconnect or a lack of deep conversations, and then routines take over. The same schedules, the same patterns, the same superficial interactions, until one day the woman realizes that she and her husband are no longer truly connected. They may eat meals together, watch TV in the same room, but intimacy is gone. She no longer feels desired. She no longer feels seen. She starts to feel more like a housemate than a wife. Take Sarah, for example, a 69-year-old retired nurse. In the early years of her marriage, she and her husband would laugh together, take long walks, and share their dreams. But over time, their conversations grew shorter. Her husband stopped asking how her day went, spent more time watching TV, or just sitting in silence, and eventually, they began living parallel lives. The worst part: her husband didn't even notice. To him, nothing had changed, but to Sarah, everything had changed. This change happens in countless marriages because many men assume that once they're married, the work is done. They believe that simply being present in the home is enough, but maintaining a healthy relationship requires constant effort. What they fail to realize is that when a woman feels emotionally disconnected for years, it doesn't just make her feel lonely, it makes her feel resentful. Women need emotional intimacy just as much as physical intimacy. They need to feel wanted, appreciated, and engaged in meaningful conversations. A husband stops making her feel desired emotionally, a woman starts to ask herself, why am I even here? Another painful reality is that many women try to fix this before giving up. They bring it up, express their needs, ask for more connection, more affection, more attention. But when these requests are ignored or met with indifference, slowly but surely, she stops asking. Once a woman stops trying to reconnect, emotional distance becomes permanent. If this resonates with you, know that you are not alone. Many women experience this feeling of unexpected emotional void in their marriages. If you're still watching this video and find this information valuable, please leave a number 2 comment below too. Let me know you're here. Your engagement helps me continue producing content that adds value to your life. Number 3. Unresolved conflicts that build up over the years. One of the most devastating reasons women feel disappointed with their husbands as they age is the accumulation of unresolved conflicts. Small arguments, emotional wounds, and resentments are often never fully addressed. Over time, these issues do not disappear. Rather, they accumulate and grow into deep frustration. Many couples prefer to ignore problems instead of solving them. It often starts with small things: a dismissive comment, a forgotten anniversary, or an argument left unfinished. At first, a woman may let it go because she thinks it's not worth the fight. But over the years, these small disappointments accumulate: an overlooked apology here, an unmet expectation there. Eventually, she realizes that her husband has hurt her in so many little ways. A woman tries to keep her marriage intact with thousands of small efforts, but these small accumulations eventually create a distance that feels impossible to cross. Some of them are big enough on their own to end the marriage, but when added together, they form a gap that feels too wide to bridge. Take Sharon, for example, a 74-year-old retired accountant. She had been married for over 40 years, and from the outside, their marriage appeared stable. But internally, it was filled with years of resentment. Whenever her emotional needs were ignored or promises were broken, she remembered every moment. She had brought up her frustrations in the past, but every time she did, her husband would dismiss her with comments like, "You're overreacting," or "That was years ago, why bring it up now?" Over time, she stopped arguing, stopped expecting change, and stopped seeing her husband as someone who truly valued her feelings. This pattern is incredibly common. Many women try to cope with unresolved wounds because they never get closure. When a man continuously ignores or dismisses his wife's concerns, he sends the message, whether intentionally or not, that your feelings don't matter. This type of emotional neglect can create the deepest resentment. Another dangerous effect of unresolved conflicts is how it changes how a woman sees her husband. In the beginning of a marriage, there's love, admiration, and a sense of partnership. But when conflicts are never truly resolved, those positive feelings start to fade. A woman who once saw her husband as her best friend may begin to see him as someone who doesn't listen, someone who belittles her needs, someone who has become more of an adversary than a partner. The worst part, many men don't even realize this is happening. They assume everything is fine as long as she's not arguing. They mistake silence for peace, when in reality, silence is often a sign that a woman has completely given up on trying to be heard. If your frustrations have been ignored for years and you've tried to bring them up, you are not alone. This is something experienced by countless women. Number 4. A shift in priorities and her feeling of unfulfillment as women age. Their priorities and needs change. Even left a sift in saying don't notice or fail to adapt to these changes. What once felt like a meaningful and fulfilling life, raising children, managing the household, or supporting a spouse's career, may eventually feel like a closed chapter. Many women wake up with a desire for a deeper emotional connection, personal growth, or a new sense of independence. But when their husbands remain stuck in the same routines and miss noticing these shifts, it creates a significant gap between them. For years, many women have sacrificed their own dreams and desires to meet the needs of their families. Once the children are grown and the house no longer requires the same level of attention, they look around and realize something is missing if their husbands don't evolve with them. Still expecting the same dynamic from their younger years, this leaves women feeling stuck in a life that no longer satisfies them. Take Margaret, for example, a 68-year-old retired librarian. For years, her focus had been on her family, helping with school projects, planning family vacations, and making sure her home remained warm and welcoming. But after retiring, she began seeking new experiences. She wanted to travel, join social groups, and take up hobbies she hadn't had time for before. However, her husband was content to continue sitting in front of the TV every night. What he didn't realize was that his wife was not happy. This is where the resentment begins. A woman who has spent her life putting others first begins to realize that no one is doing the same for her. She starts to crave a fulfilling life, but when her husband refuses to grow with her, it turns into something she perceives as an obstacle rather than a partnership. This shift in perception transforms a mild disappointment into a much deeper frustration. The issue is not just that priorities change, it's that these changes often go unnoticed until it's too late. Men assume their wives will always be content playing the same role, but they fail to recognize that women now want more from life. When a woman tries to grow beyond her marriage and her husband stays stuck in old habits, it creates a gap that is almost impossible to repair. Dating shouldn't just be about routines and repetition, it should also be a time to explore new possibilities. When women feel they're still growing but their husbands have stagnated, the resentment is not just about being bored, it's about feeling held back from the life they want to live. If this resonates with you, if you've experienced changes in priorities while your husband has remained stuck in his old ways, know that you are not alone. Many women experience these feelings as they age. Number 5. Aging is the slow but undeniable loss of both emotional and physical intimacy. Every marriage evolves over time, but when emotional and physical intimacy completely fade away, many women feel deeply unwanted, unloved, and disconnected from the person they once felt closest to. In the early years of a relationship, there are often signs of warmth, hugs, kisses, and small gestures of love that make a woman feel cherished. However, as years go by, many husbands relax and forget that emotional intimacy is not just a phase in marriage, but a necessity to keep love alive. For some women, the moment they realize things have changed isn't a major fight or a dramatic event. It's simply the gradual disappearance of small touches, thoughtful compliments, and playful flirting. Take Sharon, for example, a 71-year-old retired secretary. She remembered when she and her husband used to hold hands while walking, when he'd gently place his hand on her back as they talked, and when he'd hug her for no reason at all. But now, her husband doesn't look at her the same way. Their conversations have turned into practical discussions about bills or things to do. When they sit on the couch together, the distance between them feels miles apart. One day, when she told him she missed the way things used to be, his response was, "We're too old for that now." That was the moment Sharon realized her husband no longer saw any problem with their relationship. Many men don't realize that intimacy isn't just about romance, it's about emotional security. Women never stop wanting to feel beautiful, admired, and significant. When a husband stops showing emotional intimacy, it doesn't just make a woman feel lonely, it makes her feel invisible. And this is one of the deepest wounds a marriage can inflict. There's also the issue of how physical intimacy changes with age. Many couples experience periods where desire and physical closeness decrease, which is a natural shift, especially with health concerns or changing bodies. But what frustrates many women isn't the decrease in physical intimacy, it's the lack of effort to maintain the emotional connection. A husband who no longer shows affection in small ways, doesn't give compliments, or initiates warmth, slowly creates a marriage where his wife no longer feels like a woman but simply a cohabitant. And here's the hard truth: women don't just get used to this, they hate it. They resent that their needs are being ignored, their emotional desires minimized, and even though they still want to connect, their husbands have decided that intimacy is no longer necessary. Many women try to fix this before giving up. They hint at wanting more closeness, raise concerns about the lack of affection, and express their sadness. But when these concerns are ignored, dismissed, or laughed off, they eventually stop asking. When a woman stops asking for love, it's not because she no longer wants it, but because she has accepted that she will never get it. And this realization slowly kills whatever feeling she had left. If this resonates with you, if you've experienced that painful loneliness where love no longer feels like love, know that you are not alone. Many women silently experience this as they age. Number 6, feeling undervalued. One of the deepest sources of resentment in a long-term marriage is the feeling of being undervalued. After years of showing love, making sacrifices, and offering affection, it is incredibly difficult for a woman to feel that these efforts go unnoticed or unappreciated. Over time, many women realize that the things they once did out of love, like cooking meals, remembering special dates, or supporting their husband through life's challenges, are no longer valued. These small but meaningful gestures transform from loving acts of care into mere obligations or expectations. This loss of appreciation leads to the loss of warmth in the marriage. At the beginning of a relationship, there is often gratitude. A husband might say, "Thank you for making dinner," or "What you do for me means a lot." However, over the years, many husbands stop acknowledging these daily efforts, assuming their wives will always handle everything. This shift from appreciation to expectation slowly replaces love with resentment. Consider Nancy, a 72-year-old retired school principal. For years, she managed her household without complaint. She made her husband's favorite meals, kept the house organized, scheduled appointments, and took care of the little things that made their lives easier. But over time, she started to notice something. He no longer said thank you. When she worked hard to do something thoughtful, it was met with silence, as if it were simply her job. One day, after spending hours preparing a meal, she sat down and asked her husband, "Do you even realize how much I do for you?" His response was a confused shrug. That was the moment she realized he had completely stopped noticing her efforts. Feeling invisible in your own marriage is truly devastating. A woman can give and give for years, but when she is never acknowledged or reciprocated, it wears her down, and after enough time, she no longer wants to give it all. The real issue isn't that men stop showing appreciation, it's that many don't realize how much their wives are doing in the first place. A woman may dedicate her life to maintaining the home, remembering birthdays, supporting her husband emotionally, and keeping the relationship strong, but outwardly, everything may seem fine. However, internally, she may feel exhausted, drained, and overwhelmed. Many men don't understand that resentment doesn't come from one big event. It stems from thousands of small moments of feeling unappreciated. When a woman no longer feels valued, she starts to emotionally withdraw. She doesn't laugh as much, she stops initiating conversations, and she ceases to do the small things she once did with love. It's not to punish her husband, it's because she simply has nothing left to give. Many husbands fail to realize that showing appreciation doesn't take much. A simple "thank you, I see how much you do," or an unexpected compliment can make a woman feel loved and noticed, but when these words completely disappear, the emotional connection fades as well. If you've ever felt like you're giving endlessly without receiving gratitude, if you've wondered whether your husband even notices what you do, know that your feelings are valid. Many women go through this silent struggle, wondering if their efforts even matter anymore. Number 7, realizing that they've grown apart. One of the most heartbreaking reasons women feel resentment toward their husbands as they age is simply realizing that they've grown apart. The man with whom they once shared their dreams and laughter now feels like a stranger. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It slowly develops over years of routine neglect and a lack of effort to stay emotionally connected. One day, a woman looks at her husband and thinks, "Who is this person? And how did we get here?" Many marriages begin with a deep connection, long conversations, shared goals, and the feeling of truly being life partners. But over the years, life gets in the way. Careers, children, responsibilities, and stress become priorities. And if a couple doesn't make a conscious effort to grow together, they inevitably grow apart. For many women, the first sign of this change is the loss of meaningful conversations. She realizes that she and her husband no longer talk the way they used to. Of course, they can discuss practical things like bills, family plans, and daily routines, but the deeper connection is gone. The curiosity about each other's thoughts and feelings fades. When she tries to bring up something important, he brushes it off with short, indifferent responses. Over time, she stops trying. Consider Margaret, a 74-year-old retired social worker. When she and her husband were younger, they would stay up late talking about their dreams, fears, and plans for the future. But now, their conversations have become superficial. When she asks him for his thoughts on something, he only grunts in response, or redirects the conversation to the news on TV. When she tries to talk about her personal growth or interests, he almost never listens. That was the moment Margaret realized her husband no longer truly knew her. This emotional disconnect becomes even more painful when women realize that their husbands don't seem to care. While women feel deep loneliness, many men continue as if nothing is wrong. They assume everything is fine unless there's a major conflict. But for a woman, emotional disconnect is just as painful as a full-blown argument. It makes her feel isolated, invisible, and deeply alone within her marriage. Another common realization is that they no longer share the same interests. Over the years, many women develop new passions, hobbies, or ways of thinking, but when their husbands don't evolve with them and remain stuck in the same patterns, they start feeling trapped in a marriage that no longer satisfies them. The most painful part is that many women mourn the marriage they once had. They remember the man who made them laugh, who held their hand without thinking, and who cared about their thoughts and dreams. But when that version of their husband disappears, what remains is someone who is physically present but emotionally absent, and that absence creates resentment. The truth is, love isn't something that just happens, it's something that needs to be maintained. When a husband stops putting in effort, stops getting to know his wife, and stops choosing to remain emotionally connected, he slowly becomes a stranger in his own home. If this resonates with you, if you've experienced the silent heartbreak of realizing that you and your husband have grown distant, know that you're not alone. Many women go through this, often thinking they're the only ones feeling this way. Final thoughts as we wrap up this video. Take a moment to reflect on the topics we've discussed. Many women don't suddenly wake up one day and hate their husbands. This feeling builds over the years with unspoken frustrations, unmet emotional needs, and the painful realization that they have become invisible, unheard, or unappreciated. It's not always about major betrayals or dramatic fights. More often than not, it's the small, consistent disappointments that wear down a marriage over time. But here's the important takeaway. Resentment doesn't mean love is gone. It means change is needed. Many women feel trapped in silence, thinking that their emotions are too complicated to express or that it's too late to address these issues. But remember, it's never too late to have an honest conversation, ask for appreciation, rekindle lost connections, or even choose a new path forward, however that may look for you. If you recognize yourself in any of these signs, know that your feelings are valid. You are not alone in this experience. Many women have gone through the same emotional journey and come out stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. The key is to recognize that you deserve to feel valued in your relationship. You always have and you always will. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these signs resonated most with you? Have you ever experienced such a shift in your marriage? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I really enjoy reading your experiences and perspectives. Thank you for being with us today. Leave a comment, share one thing you've learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue providing you with information and inspiration. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.